If you believe that your destiny and your fate and your love life depend on the movement of planets against the distant patterns of stars, I have bad news for you. You are not the astrological sign that you probably think you are. In fact, you're probably one before it or even two before it. The constellations were dreamed up by the ancient Greeks who, after tanking up on Retsina, looked up at random assemblages of stars and thought that they looked like things from their mythology. So that's why we have a long wandering trail of stars that's Draco the dragon, a zigzag of stars that is Cassiopeia the queen, a little group of 6 stars that's Waldo the sky wombat. Okay, I made the last one up, but some of them are equally weird. I mean, there's Fornax the furnace, and Volans the flying fish. For people who like things simple and obvious, there's Triangulum the triangle. For people in the southern hemisphere who like things simple and obvious, there's Triangulum Australe, the southern triangle. But even earlier than the Greeks, the Babylonians noticed that the sun seemed to trace out a line across the sky through these constellations, and that's how they delineated the zodiac. There were 12 of them because they thought 12 was an auspicious number. The problem is the Babylonians didn't know that the Earth precesses. Precession means that its axis wobbles like a top, and so the axis is pointing at Polaris right now, and that's why it's the North Star, but it won't be the North Star forever. And in fact wasn't the North Star 3,000 years ago when the constellations were first laid out. But what that also does is it takes this line that the sun traces through the sky, the ecliptic, and it makes it tip. So it's cutting through a whole different set of constellations now than it was when the ancient Greeks laid out the zodiac. So you're not the astrological sign you think you are. You're probably the one before it, or maybe even 2 before it. And there's another problem, which is now the ecliptic cuts through a constellation that it didn't during the time of the Greeks. Ophiuchus, the snake handler. Ophiuchus? Nobody much likes Ophiuchus, partly because the name of the constellation sounds like an intestinal parasite, but also because this brings the zodiac constellations up to 13, and you know what people think about that number. And worse news for me, because I'm a Scorpio, or I was, because now I'm a Virgo. I don't really like this. I liked being a Scorpio. Scorpios are supposed to be dark and mysterious and sexy. Virgos, on the other hand, are supposed to be weak and complaining and petulant. Sorry, Virgos. So I went from being James Bond to being George Costanza. Doesn't it figure? Of course I console myself with the knowledge that astrology was pretty silly from the get-go. I mean, really, the idea that Saturn being in Capricorn means you like cottage cheese? Okay, I don't know that Saturn being in Capricorn means you like cottage cheese, but some of the things they claim are equally silly. So right now what I'm interested in is, what are the astrologers going to do? Are they going to stick with the ancient Greek and Babylonian constellations, or are they going to update it to the modern constellations that the astronomers say the ecliptic passes through? Ophiuchus? My money is on sticking with the ancient Greek way. After all, they never relied on evidence to start with, so why start now? If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You can also check out my resources down there, including a link to my blog, and please subscribe. Thanks.